The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. A Wednesday edition is here. It's Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager. Elijah Herbel, Joba Chamberlain, and Will Wilson holding it down in the studio as we're back here across the street from the Chuck. Zipline Brewing is where you can come and see us from 4 to 6. As Schmitty has the day off, we're holding down the fort.
Shout out to Smitty.
It's what do we call it?
Hopefully he's recovering.
I think we called it yesterday a day of leisure.
I don't know if it's a day of leisure. I don't know how we would put it that way, but Schmitty, we love you, we miss you, and we're gonna see you soon. So you just recover and enjoy Mama and Junior, and just hang out.
As we I think expect Schmitty will be back tomorrow. I think is the plan. We'll see if we'll be back up here tomorrow. It kind of depends how the baseball goes this afternoon.
If we have an in-play.
Yeah, Florida advances this morning in the game that was delayed from last night. They absolutely dominate Kentucky, a game that probably shows there could be a run rule at the College World Series. That game fell over after about 6, after Cagionone hit the record-breaking homer. You go, I don't think there's any way Kentucky comes back. Regardless, they advance to tonight to play Texas A&M. As I look over my shoulder here, Tennessee with a lead over Florida State in the top half of the 4th inning. They look like they're well on their way to another championship weekend. And we'll see where we go from here. We're getting to Cagione's record-breaking home run here in just a second. We also have Mike Babcock joining us on the show, as Mike's going to give us some memories of Willie Mays, a Giants fan since the Giants made that move from New York out to San Francisco. Mike Babcock watched Willie Mays for a lot of years, so we'll get his thoughts on the passing of a legend. Coming up in hour 2, Derek Peterson, Saturdays Down South, formerly of Hail Varsity. You remember him, his usual Friday segment on the show a couple of years ago. He's living down in Oklahoma now, and we're excited to welcome him back to the show. And we'll wrap things up this afternoon with a Jock Doc, Dr. Brandon Seifert, as we get his thoughts. The return of Yankees star Garrett Cole. He's been on the shelf since spring training, making his season debut at the big league level tonight. So we'll get Dr. Brandon's thoughts on the return of Garrett Cole. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Will, I don't think we've heard from you yet in the show. You're holding it down for us yet again in the studio. Thank you, sir. How are you doing on this fine Wednesday? I know you're not up here drinking beer at Zipline and hanging out, but I think there's AC in the studio. You're staying dry, and you're doing well, correct?
It's going good. I got some coffee in me, and it is saving my life. I can't tell you how much that coffee is doing good things to me. So, yeah, it's great. It's great.
Joba, how are you doing? Enjoying the college baseball? We'll get into Jac Cagionone here in just a second, that record-breaking bomb. But you enjoying the baseball? I'm hoping that we'll get some good baseball action tomorrow as well. I think that means we'd have to root for Florida. But regardless, I just want as much college baseball as we can get before the season's over.
Well, yeah, I want to see it as much as anybody else. And, you know, it was kind of funny because Cart was going to come join our show today, but he has to start tomorrow morning, and he didn't know if this game's going to get over in that 6 o'clock game when that starts. And he was like, well, I need some sleep. So love you, Cart. And he was just like, Dad, by the time I would get home and do everything, because you're going to be up there early, because he had a game this morning. And so now it's just like, all right, well, you know what? Tomorrow we have 2 games, 9:30 and 12 tomorrow. But when it comes to baseball, I love this time of year. I love everything that happens with the College World Series. I love everything that happens, and I am so fortunate and blessed to have my son play the game of baseball as well. But to be able to see this, to take him to these games, and to take my beautiful girlfriend to, you know, these games and do those things, and, you know, have that situation, and her watch my son and me watch Carter, and then get to watch these young men, in which I hope my son gets the opportunity to do the same thing that I did, is such a cool thing, and to see guys break records and do special things. It is such a cool aspect of what we bring when it comes to Omaha, and it is fantastic, and it's so fortunate to be able to have it here, to continue the tradition of what it is in Omaha, and see these guys that go on and produce and become big leaguers and have that on their resume. It's fantastic.
Well, you mentioned one thing that I want to get into, record-breaking moments. We got to see one this morning. Jac Cagionone hits his record-breaking home run for Florida, the most in a career. And I want to get your reaction. I want to get yours as well, Will, to the bargaining that we saw outside the Florida dugout after the game. The fans that caught the ball looked like it was potentially two brothers. They're going down in there. They're haggling with Cagionone for that home run ball afterwards. I believe the deal, as it was worked out from what I saw on social media, appeared to be a pair of signed batting gloves, a picture with Cagionone, and Cagionone got the baseball back. I want to get your thoughts. Is that right for a fan to do, to go haggle for that home run ball, the record-breaking ball? Because I see two sides to it. On one side, if you're sitting in the outfield and you're the person that catches that ball, that's one of the perks of going to a baseball game. Any ball that goes into the crowd that you're able to catch, that is yours. It's what sets baseball apart from other sports. If you catch a football at a football game, you'll have the ushers come by and ask for that football back. Same with the basketball. You got to get that back down on the floor to get the ball inbounded. In baseball, if you catch a baseball, it is yours to keep. It is your souvenir. But on the other side, you have that record-breaking moment. And whenever you hit a record-breaking home run, does that ball belong to the player who hit the home run because of the significance that comes behind it? I want to get both of your guys' thoughts. We'll start with Joba on what it means to you guys to see that haggling after the game. We also want to get your thoughts in the stream. You can join us streaming live, the Hail Varsity YouTube page, at HVarsity Radio on Twitter as well is where you can find us streaming live. That's where you can get your thoughts. You can give us a call, 402-489-1240. But what is your reaction to that? The fans going and haggling for the home run ball with Cagionone.
I wish they would do what the softball College World Series does, because I don't know if you guys watched it, and I love anything involved with the baseball aspect, softball and whatever.
Well, the Women's College World Series, it's a faster-paced baseball.
And it is. But you know what they do? The ushers go find the ball, and they give it back to the parents.
Oh.
And that is something where I'm fascinated, and I'm like, as my son hits homers and he does whatever he does, I have to go search for him and find him.
You're doing the run out in the outfield at Dinsmore looking for that ball.
100%. You're like, where did it go? But no, I love that aspect of it. But Elijah, to your point, I honestly, it comes to a point when if they're going back and forth and whatever it is, he deserves everything that he had.
Yep.
He's earned it. But it's also your right, too, to be able to do that. Me, as a person, as a fan, I have been a fan of baseball longer than I was a player. They deserve that because they earned it. And that's just me. I don't need anything. If you want to give me a signed bat or a ball or whatever, and you know, we were looking up Aaron Judge when he broke the record and he did his.
Well, yeah, he essentially said, hey, I'm not the one who was out there chasing down the fly ball. I'm not the one who caught it. I'm not the one who made a play. No, I'm not going to be making a bid on the baseball. I don't have my contract just yet. That is not something that I need. And I also understand that from his perspective as well, because yes, that record is his, but also that's an MLB record. I think someday that baseball should be in Cooperstown. Like that is a record for all of baseball. That is not just him. It's a credit to his hard work that he's able to go break the record. I hope someday that baseball's in Cooperstown. But if he says, you know what, that is not mine to have, it's the fan who went out there and paid the extra money to go sit in left field, and the guy who made the extra effort to hop over the rail and catch that home run ball, like that's his. I understand that side of it, but I think there's also a different side to college kids who I know NIL changes things, but they're not earning anything for what they're doing in college, at least from the universities as it stands right now. That's going to change here shortly. Does that change anything for you? The fact that, I mean, and I like the deal that was struck today. Signed batting gloves in a picture seems fair, but does it set a poor precedent in baseball of, hey, you're going to hold this home run ball ransom until you get what you want?
I don't think so. I think when they get to that accomplishment and they get to this level, and we see what Cags is going to do. We know what he's going to do. And I just think it's one of those things where you just, as a fan, I guess everybody has their own. And Will, you can chime in on this as well, because I look at it from a baseball perspective. I obviously grew up, played it, had a profession in it. But Will, give us your take on what you think of what that perspective should be if there's a record-breaking anything.
Unselfishly, I put myself in their shoes. If I hit a record-breaking home run, I would want that ball. So, putting myself in their shoes, I would give it back. But I'm also a gambler. And selfishly, I'm going to
that doesn't help then.
I'm going to squeeze that out as much as I can. I'm going to get everything that I possibly can. Batting gloves, Elijah, come on, you could do better than that, I think.
But to me, and maybe this comes from me, from my umpire perspective, but baseball is just a baseball. It's the guy at the plate, in this case, Cagionone, who hits the home run, who puts value into that baseball. And is there going to be monetary value on that baseball? Probably a little bit from Florida fans, but at the end of the day, the value is more held in Cagionone because he's the one who put in the work to earn that moment. And I look back and I say, it's a baseball. Like, give me a little something for my troubles, for, I guess, being the guy who's willing to come back and return it. Those fans didn't have to go back to the dugout and return that baseball. It's a credit to them for going and doing that. I think you give them a little something, the signed batting gloves, the picture, whatever, as a thank you for bringing this baseball back. But like, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'd take it back to the guy, because a baseball doesn't have any value unless you have that guy who's at the plate, who hits the home run, who breaks the record. I think that's probably their baseball. But then I look at a guy who's making $50 million a year in the MLB. I might squeeze a couple pennies out of him if I go catch that home run ball, because I know they have it, and it's the reciprocal factor of, hey, I'm bringing this home run back to you. Take care of me for taking care of you.
Well, and I agree, but at the same time, let's all remember where we end up. 10 toes up.
6 feet under.
And you take memories with you. You can't take your money with you. So that memory of that accomplishment that you caught and did everything will last with you forever. The money will not. And I agree with people if they want to, but when it comes down to it, in the accomplishments that I have done in my career, I am fortunate that I have all of those baseballs. And there are some in these kids' lives, and when they move on, in the people that either catch them, do whatever, where it's a little different. But understand, and exactly what you said, Elijah, it's like, you catch a ball, yeah, I did it. But it means more to them than it does to you. And some people don't think that way. And that's okay. And that's fine if they're in trying to, make a dollar and do those things. And obviously we've seen historical home runs be sold for a lot of money. Yeah. So it just, for me, it's like, I love the game of baseball, and I know how hard it is to be good and to get to that level. I would never, ever take anything away from somebody that has put in the work and they've got to that position to be able to be in that position, to set a record, to do these things. And I may think different than other people, and that's okay. But they deserve everything to know that they can have that. And mind you, are they still going to remember that? Maybe not. but I can still look at every one of my strikeouts in my 100, my 500, and everything that I've done, because my dad's a hoarder. Love you, Dad. I know you're listening. But I have all those. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because you want to have them.
Yep.
And I think that's where you were going with it. But it's crazy to me where people think that it's different. Like, oh, I just caught the ball. Like, now I'm going to sell it. Well, this man worked his butt off.
Yep. I'm with you.
To earn that.
I'm with you. And as we talk about leaving a legacy here, before we get out this break, we're going to get Mike Babcock's take on this. A guy who left a hell of a legacy in the sport of baseball, Willie Mays, leaving this earth yesterday, 93 years old. The one World Series ring with the Giants, one of the best catches in Major League history, referred simply to as the catch. Willie Mays, gone at 93 years old, one of the best to ever do it in baseball, a trailblazer, and a guy that Mike Babcock grew up watching. We're going to get Mike Babcock's take on the life, the legacy of Willie Mays. That's coming your way here. We'll also get some Husker football thoughts a little bit later this hour. Derek Peterson joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll wrap this whole show up with a Jock Doc. Don't go anywhere. Mike Babcock joins us after the break as we get his reaction to the life, the legacy of Willie Mays. That's next on Hail Varsity Radio.
Where's the perfect place to go for lunch every day?
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Where can you watch all of your favorite college and professional sports all season long?
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Who's got family-friendly entertainment all throughout the week, including trivia, music bingo, and live music every Friday?
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Hurrdat Sports Bar in La Vista is the spot for lunch, date night, corporate events, or even a late-night cocktail. A one-of-a-kind spot for sports fans and more. Behind Cabela's in La Vista.
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Think about it. How prepared are you for the unexpected? Emergencies strike without warning, and we all know something big will be thrown at us soon. Being prepared makes all the difference. This means having a reliable food supply stored to use during tougher times. That's why at My Patriot Supply, we sell thousands of our 4-week emergency food kits every week. Each kit is packed with delicious, easy-to-prepare meals that provide over 2,000 calories per day. These kits are designed to stand by for up to 25 years, ready to use when you need them most. This week, save $50 on every 4-week emergency food kit you need. Simply go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure one for each family member. That's $50 off every 4-week emergency food kit. Order by 3 p.m. and your kit's shipped that same day. It's better to have emergency food than to need it and not have it. Shop mypatriotsupply.com. mypatriotsupply.com.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Attention pet lovers, join us for your pet's health.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Rolling through a Wednesday edition here at Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Locker. We're at Zipline Brewing right across the street from the Charles Schwab Field, as currently Tennessee with a lead on Florida State in the top half of the fifth. Tennessee looking to advance to the College World Series Championship Series coming this weekend up here in Omaha. We're going to be here from 4 to 6, myself and Joba Chamberlain. So come hang out, grab a beer, say hi. We've also got Will Wilson holding it down in the studio yet again. We owe Will a beer for his hard work for us holding it down in the studio. We welcome Mike Babcock to the show here, his usual Wednesday appearance, 425. As Mike, I'm not sure if that's a Grateful Dead shirt. It's not tie-dye, but that is not it is a Grateful Dead shirt. Mike's got the consistency with this here. Mike, how are we doing on a Wednesday? You've been enjoying all the action of the College World Series, and you enjoying what feels like something of a spring day here in June.
Yeah. I have been watching the College World Series. The first round was really good. A lot of close games. These lately have not been quite the same, but I enjoy the College World Series.
It's Mike Babcock with us here on a Wednesday edition of Hail Varsity Radio. And Mike, let's shift to the news of the day. I know you've been a Giants fan since they made that move out to San Francisco. Willie Mays, the legend, passing away at 93 years of age, excuse me. Want to get your thoughts on the life, the legacy of Willie Mays. You see him in a whole bunch of top 10 categories in Major League statistics. I think that includes RBIs, hits, runs, home runs. I'm missing one more. There's one more record in there. But I want to get your thoughts. A guy that you grew up watching, grew up listening to, Willie Mays, no longer with us, but leaves one hell of a legacy in baseball.
Yeah, I had the opportunity. My family moved to California my junior year in college, and I moved along because I immediately became a non-resident in Nebraska. But if you were in California for a certain amount of time, you automatically didn't have to pay tuition and a bunch of things. So I was able to see Willie Mays play for the Giants 67, 68, and 69 a little later in his career. And I was always disturbed that he finished his career with the Mets. I thought he should have stayed with the Giants. That should have been the appropriate way to do it. But the thing about Willie, and like you said, I was a Giants fan since 1958. So my guys were Orlando Cepeda, who they traded away, Juan Marichal, and Willie Mays. I mean, those were the guys. And the thing that made Willie great, I thought, was his ability to do all aspects of the game. He was a great defensive player. He hit for power. He could steal bases. He had speed. He's very athletic. And by all accounts, he was a good person. He related to the fans, and so it was fun to watch him play at Candlestick Park in conditions that were more appropriate for the San Francisco 49ers than the Giants. But I really thought he had the ability to do all aspects of the game from his position, center fielder. So very much ingrained in me.
So Mike, in that aspect, like when you think about Willie Mays, what is your fondest memory of him and you just watching as a fan of baseball, and very fortunate to play the game as well, but from your perspective as somebody that's covered sports over a lot of years, I won't age you.
We're like 5 decades? 5 decades, I think we're at?
I won't age you. Elijah, damn it.
Hey, that's a sign of respect in our world. 5 decades covering sports, hats off.
So what was your fondest memory, like whether it's with your dad or whether it's with whoever, was your fondest memory of Willie?
No particular game sticks out, Joba, or particular play. Although I wasn't there, but I've seen that clip of him making that catch in the Polo Grounds over his shoulder, which is pretty remarkable. And we've had a couple of catches comparable to that in the College World Series. But the thing, I always I like the way he batted. He kind of, it's hard to describe it, but he kind of pulled his left foot out, and he kind of went down and got the ball, and I just like to see him hit home runs. You know, that was a thing for me. Home runs. Cepeda was a home run hitter, and he had a different kind of a closed stance that he batted. And you know, Marichal kicked his leg really high, and it was incredible how pitching was so much different then. You know, how guys went complete games. I think Marichal had 30 plus complete games one season. Yeah, Willie was the boss. You know, he was the guy that you remembered, I think, obviously most. Willie McCovey, big deal. McCovey Cove, still at the new ballpark. But Willie Mays was, and you know, the 660 home runs, that was number 2 behind Babe Ruth, right, for a long time. And, you know, I think that it kind of defined him in a way, because he could hit those home runs, but he could also hit for average and whatever. And, you know, there's this history in the Negro Leagues, which I've always been fascinated with the Negro Leagues, and actually got to see a Negro Leagues game growing up in York, Nebraska. The Kansas City Monarchs played it at East Hill Ballpark, and Satchel Paige pitched. So that's the same thing, but didn't see Willie Mays play for the Birmingham Black Barons.
Mike, it's funny. We were talking about that very game before we started the show. Yeah. We talked about Satchel Paige pitching in Nebraska. And
yeah.
Amazing. We're talking to a guy who was there.
Yeah. The way I recall it was that my dad and I always went to all the games at East Hill Ballpark, and we sat on the visitor side, which backed onto the parking lot. And when the game started, Satchel Paige, I think it was a Cleveland team they played, Satchel Paige wasn't there, is my recollection. And we're sitting here in the stands on the side with the parking lot behind us. And about the 3rd or 4th inning, here comes this big vehicle, Cadillac or whatever. And it was Satchel Paige, and he got out, came in the ballpark, pitched 3 or 4 innings, went back, got in the car, and took off. I suspect that he probably pitched somewhere else that night as well, either before he came to York or after he did, because that's kind of the way he did it. And it was pretty cool. But I've tried to find the clippings from the York newspaper, and I have been unsuccessful in doing that, which makes me think of the remembrance of things past is not necessarily remembrance of things as they were. Quote from whoever it was. I don't even remember.
It's Mike Babcock with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, looking back at the life legacy Willie Mays. Also a great story there on Satchel Paige pitching in York, Nebraska. And Mike, I'm going to shift gears here. We're going to keep it with baseball, but a conversation we had leading off this show, Jac Caglione's home run ball, he had to haggle to get it back. You've been watching a lot of baseball in your lifetime. Is that a right move from the fans, a wrong move from the fans? What's your take on Caglione having to give up a pair of signed batting gloves and to take a picture with the fans to get the ball back? Is that a fair price?
You know, I guess in this day and age, I guess it is. To me, it would be more appropriate just to give him the ball because of what it means to him. But that's just me. I mean, if it had been me, if I had got the ball, I would have given it to him. If I would have I've gotten 2 foul balls at major league games in my lifetime, both at Candlestick Park. One I gave to a kid that was sitting near me. The other one, there wasn't anybody sitting near me. Candlestick didn't draw all that well, particularly for an afternoon home game, or for an afternoon game. And so I got a foul ball, and I still got it somewhere. I think it was hit by a Montreal Expo, but I could say that it was hit by Willie Mays. I got the foul ball.
Well, Babcock, that would be the Washington Nationals now.
Yeah.
What year were we talking here with the Expos?
This would have been probably in 67 or 68. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we weren't here.
Remember. I think it was just somebody that played for the Expos.
I think that's part of the beauty of baseball that we talked about. Is you can go sit in the cheap seats. You can be sitting by yourself down the left field line. You can get yourself a foul ball, get a souvenir to take home. I love that about baseball. It's what sets it apart. But then you always have the question with, home run ball of significance, a ball of significance of any sort, who does that go to? Probably not a right answer. Like getting your take on it, though, Mike. And as we shift gears here and wrap things up, one of the things we're going to talk a little bit later in this hour is the boom or bust teams of college football. A couple of teams listed on an article by our friend Bill Binder with the Sporting News. He put LSU in there. He said Ohio State, not a boom or bust team, but he also included Florida State, Clemson, Miami. I want to get your thoughts here with the recruiting momentum that Nebraska seems to have. I know Nebraska probably doesn't rise to the level of a Clemson or an LSU or a Miami in terms of boom or bust, make or break type season for these teams. If it's not a boom, it's a bust. What's your take on Nebraska? We talked plenty in the past 16 months about the slow build Matt Rhule wants to put in place, but with the hype you get around a 5-star quarterback in Dylan Raiola, some of the momentum you're getting in the portal, the way the schedule sets up for you, and some of the high-level recruits Nebraska is going after, do you feel like this could be closer to a boom or bust type season for Nebraska here in 2024?
I hope people don't perceive it as such, because for me, it's like one step at a time. This is Matt Rhule's second season here. We don't go from here to here in one season. It's a process. And I think, maybe in this day and age, people are more impatient about these kinds of things. But, think about it. He's only been here one season. Let's give him some. It's remarkable that, they got Dylan Raiola. It's remarkable that they're getting attention from highly rated recruits. But that, to me, that's a step in a process. And, so you got to be great in the third year. No, you got to give him time.
So, Mike, do you think, too, like, as he goes into it, do you think, what is that span, though? What is it 3 years? Is it 4 years when he, gets his guys or whatever? Do you think there's a time frame, or do you think we need to win now?
Mike, we're up against a hard break. Do you think we can hold you over for one more segment and get your thoughts on that on the other side of the break?
Yeah, I'll think
Mike Babcock with us here. Yeah, Mike Babcock with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. One more segment. We'll get his thoughts on that after the break here on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Hi, this is Connor Clark, voice of the Lincoln Salt Dogs. On Wednesday, the Dogs take on Sioux City. Airtime is at 6:35.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Legacy living in the heart of Havelock. Enjoy the feel of a small town with friendly neighbors where the living is easy at Legacy Terrace, 5700 Fremont. You'll instantly feel that warm welcome. Come and experience their award-winning independent living, assisted living, and memory care. Voted Best of Lincoln every single year since 1998. Come for a tour. Call Legacy Terrace at 402-464-5700. That's 402-464-5700.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse like Donna or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us today. Visit the store at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point Mall or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. Good Feet arch supports are HSA and FSA eligible. The only place to get the Good Feet solution is at the Good Feet store. Come in for a free test walk today.
Sandwiches are the original fast food. And what could be easier than loading up a few slices of Country Hearth multigrain bread with your favorite deli meats and cheeses, then piling on freshly picked veggies from your garden? Or maybe a good old-fashioned peanut butter and homemade strawberry jam sandwich made on Kids' Choice. This summer, when you're on your way to the lake or park, skip the drive-thru. Pack a cooler full of your favorite sandwiches instead. Country Hearth breads, locally baked and delivered fresh daily.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back in here, it's Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager, Elijah Herbel, Joba Chamberlain, Will Wilson from Zipline Brewing here at Omaha. Just a hop, skip, and a jump from the Chuck in the College World Series action. Your update, bottom six, Tennessee still with a lead over Florida State as they look to advance to the championship series. Mike Babcock hangs over for us for one more segment as we got to get Mike's thought on kind of the timeline in terms of boom or bust. Job, I'll let you set this back up. You asked at the end of the last segment, and I'll let you reset it here.
No, I think as you covered it so much and how you know more than we do, but where do you think we go from here? Like where do we go?
Well, I think that you say a time frame, so I'd probably look at a fourth season and say that's when he's got mostly his guys in here. Back in the day, you could say that. I'm not so sure now with transfer portal and NIL and all these things coming together. But I think to say that it's boom or bust in the second season is unreasonable, even though obviously the coaches and the players have expectations that are high. That they expect a big turnaround, I'm sure, from what was accomplished last year. You look at Rule's comments, you get that indication. But I think that from a fan standpoint, I think you have to be a little bit reluctant to say it's boom or bust in the second season. You better get it done or else. Even though that's kind of the mindset. I've been watching, the scrolling on ESPN and a couple of NBA coaches have been fired after one season. An NHL coach was fired after one season. Expectations are immediate. Things have to happen immediately. And I think Nebraska fans have been frustrated for enough years that they have expectations. It's like, okay, now we've got the guy. They've there's been that opinion a couple of times. There was that opinion with Scott Frost. Now they got the guy. There was an opinion with Bo Pelini. Now they got the guy. Bill Callahan. Now they got the guy. Former or an NFL guy coming here. Didn't work out. 4 seasons there. Bo always had 9 wins in a bowl game, but that wasn't enough. Because they had some bad losses in there. And then Mike Riley, I'm not sure how the expectation was there. It was kind of a surprise, that he when he came in, but the patience has dwindled, I think, and so there are probably great expectations for Matt Rule in second season, but I think that's not reasonable. I think that's for the team to have expectations. For the fans, I think you have to be a little more tempered.
It's Mike Babcock with us here, Husker historian, Hail Varsity. And Mike, before we get you out of here, let us know what's coming up in your weekly newsletter. What can the fans expect in their inboxes here in the coming weeks?
The most one coming up is about Rod Smith leading the nation in punt returns in 1986, which is kind of interesting because he didn't have enough to qualify, so they had to add 2 for no yards, and he still led the nation in punt return average. And the reason I wrote about it is because of the, Ed Foley and Coach Rule have talked about the need to get something better out of the return game than what Nebraska has had. I think wasn't very good at all last season. Nebraska ranked near the bottom statistically. So that's Rod Smith, average about 18.6, and then you added the 2-point punts for no yards, and I think it came out to 16.8.
It's Mike Babcock with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Look for that bi-weekly newsletter in your inbox. Mike, appreciate you sticking around for some overtime with us here, and we'll chat with you next week. All right, bud?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
There he is, Mike Babcock with us here. As I did forsake one thing, Job, on our first segment. We got so off in the weeds about Cagionone and about Willie Mays. Forgot to get into the Hail Varsity Radio starting 5 for the day. So let's take you through right now.
Let's get them noticed.
Justin first in on the stream today. He was quite excited. First baby. He says he'll be taking autographs after the show. So we appreciate Justin.
Fair.
Brennan in second. We have NASCAR Eric in at 3. Jimmy is in at 4, and Sal is in at 5. A little bit further down the list, coming off the bench, Patrick, Michael, Tiger Shark Diver, KP, John Day.
Tiger
Crew.
Shark's always in.
Oh, Tiger Shark is a real one. We appreciate you, Tiger Shark, Cliff, and the other Elijah also in, rounding out the starting 5. Let's give you one more. Ryan was in at 412 as he's deep down on the bench today, but there is our Hail Varsity Radio starting 5. Let's carry on this conversation here quickly, and we also have Joba's trivia question to get to. We'll get to that after the break. Another chance to get yourself $20 from Joba Chamberlain with, let's call it some Yankees trivia. I think we'll call it some Yankees trivia.
I think so.
That'll come your way after the break.
Well, it'll just be Joba's trivia.
Joba's trivia, baseball trivia.
That's it.
So that's coming your way after the break. Don't go anywhere if you want a chance to get yourself $20. You have to be in the Hail Varsity Radio stream for that. That's the Hail Varsity YouTube page, Hail Varsity Radio on Twitter as well. But quickly with this boomer bust list, Bill Bender put it out. I think we're all in agreement, not necessarily a boomer bust season for Nebraska. We've talked about the progress that you want to see. The progress is a little bit different for everybody based on what your expectations are as a fan, how much Kool-Aid you've been drinking here this offseason. But whenever I look at recruiting rankings, the guys that are going to be holding out on commitments, guys like Christian Jones, you have a guy in David Sanders who I'm not sure is at the top of Nebraska's recruiting board, but another guy that maybe with a successful start to this season, you can get yourself back in play on. I look at those guys and I ask myself the question, is it a year where you do need 8? And I think 8, given where Nebraska has been in recent years, could be considered a boom type season. Well, what I think a boom differs based on your expectations and where you've been. Like a boom season for Clemson looks different to me than a boom season for Nebraska. Am I right there?
I think ours are different because we obviously expect what it is. I think boomer bust for us, honestly, is if we make a bowl game.
6.
I think that's legitimate. We have a very favorable schedule. But I think boomer bust for us, if we don't get to a bowl game, I think it's kind of what do you do? And that's in our segment before with Babcock and him obviously being around the game for so many years and understanding what it is and him giving us his dimension. If we don't make it, do you think it's a bust?
Well,
do you think it is?
The question to me becomes, if your number is 6, is that boom or bust? I think that's getting back to incremental progress. And I'm looking at it as a perspective from enter the 12-team college football playoff era.
Well, we're adding more.
As conferences expand, if you don't gain momentum this season, real tangible momentum, is it already too far gone? And the answer to that is realistically probably no, but I think it's a lot more difficult. It's probably no, because there's not many teams in America that have a 5-star quarterback in Dylan Ryla, assuming he lives up to expectations. You probably have a little bit more runway because of that.
But he also hasn't thrown a pass yet.
He hasn't thrown a pass yet. Very true. I just don't see – I mean, I think we're all in agreement it's not a boom or a bust, but I think it calls into question what is a boom year for Nebraska this year. And I look at that number of 8. If you can get to 8, that is so far above where you've been over the past decade that it could be considered a bust. We'll continue this, a boom. We'll consider this continue this conversation after the break. It's Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager. Stop your laughing.
The Before Clayton Anderson became a NASA astronaut, he was a public school student in Ashland, Nebraska.
As an astronaut, flying over Ashland for the first time on the space station, all I could think of was the public school system and the people, the family, the friends who made me the human that I am today. And I thought of Alice Rakes, my science teacher who taught me to question everything and to love the scientific method. I owe it all to those people who helped me get there.
Tell us why you're public school proud at publicschoolproudnebraska.org.
Ah, spring. The perfect time to plant the seeds of intention. What we put in, we get back. Like at Cricket Wireless, where you get 4 lines for only $25 per month each. Now go forth and cultivate a stronger connection with yourself and the 3 other people on your phone plan. One more soothing gong for good measure. Smile. You're on Cricket.
Discounts vary per line. Fees, terms, and restrictions apply. See store for details.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Summer is here, and it's time for Acres postseason planter parts sale. Save big on all in-stock John Deere planter parts. Get an automatic 10% off on your purchase, or get 15% off when you spend $5,000 or more. Buy over $10,000 and get a whopping 20% off. Visit your local Acres location today and stock up on planter parts and save thousands. Hurry, the sale ends July 31st or while supplies last. Acres, solutions for every field.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb.
Give your home a beautiful makeover with flooring options from Menards. Update your room with flooring from Tarkett. From easy-to-install sheet vinyl, waterproof vinyl plank, to durable laminate flooring, Tarkett has the perfect style for you. Grovewood laminate flooring is stain, scratch, and dent resistant, and designed with busy families in mind.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Friday edition here of Hail Varsity. Wednesday edition here. Good Lord, that was wishful thinking on my account. God, I wish it was Friday.
Holy cow.
If it was Friday, we'd be looking forward to a championship series. See, I was thinking here, Friday's an off day at the College World Series. These teams playing for right to still be here on Friday as Tennessee gets a runner first to third here. They still have a commanding lead, top half of the 7th inning. It looks like, barring any late comeback from Florida State, that it will be Tennessee in a championship series. We're awaiting Florida and Texas A&M tonight. We've got some Aggie fans down in the bar area here at Zipline, and we encourage you to come join us in the Zipline tap room, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Chuck here at the College World Series. Come grab a beer, come say hi. We're in the upstairs area. You can walk up the stairs. I have undone the chain link fence, so you can walk up and say hi to us during a commercial break if you so choose. We'll come down and make the rounds as well. One more thing here I want to note as we wrap our boomer bust conversation for this hour. We're also going to get Joba's trivia question of the day in here, your chance to get $20. I want to take you through Bill Binder's list of boomer bust teams in 2024. We're going to get Derek Peterson, Dr. Petey's take on this after the break, as he's writing a little more nationally for college football. Saturdays Down South is where you find him. Just take you through the list here, and then we'll get you to Joba's trivia question of the day. So according to our friend Bill Binder with the Sporting News, college football's boomer bust teams in 2024, LSU. The question with them, are they truly a top 10 team? Brian Kelly, 10 wins each of the last 2 seasons. Can he make that jump up into national relevancy, make a college football playoff? We have Arizona. Arizona finished the year last year on a 7-game winning streak. They have that Fafita quarterback combination along with McMillan at wide receiver. They're probably going to be ranked in the preseason AP poll for the first time since 2015. On the other hand, you have the move to the Big 12. What does that mean for them? Is it a boom or a bust season? Oklahoma State also in the Big 12. They have some returning talent, but it's a story of parity in the Big 12 right now. What does that season look like for them? Florida State following the year they had last year. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Clemson, does Dabo Swinney regain any momentum here in 2024? It hasn't been the past 2 seasons that the Clemson Tigers have come to expect as Dabo adjusts to the portal in the NIL era. Boom or bust for Clemson in 2024. We have Oklahoma, as Oklahoma's looking to find their footing under Venables, get themselves back into playoff contention. And then Miami rounds out the 7 teams for Bill Bender's boom or bust list. We'll get Derek Peterson's take on that here in about 10 minutes on the other side of the break as Derek Peterson sits by in the green room in early. So you can look forward to that after the break. Before we get you out of here, though, Joba's trivia question of the day. First correct answer gets $20 in the Cash App. Joba, what do you have for us? And we'll see if I know it, too. We'll discuss off the air. I have a feeling I won't know. You got a deep poll here, according to you.
So this Joba trivia question is, who hit the last home run at Old Yankee Stadium? First one in, we will Cash App you $20.
If it takes through the break, it takes through the break. The last home run at Old Yankee Stadium. Let's get one hint in here for me at least. Long-time Yankee or no?
No.
A 1-year rental type?
It was a trade.
Trade.
From the Angels.
There's a good tidbit, a good little hint. Last home run at Old Yankee Stadium. Get your thoughts in on the stream. That is the Hail Varsity YouTube page, at HVarsity Radio on Twitter, as well as where you can get your answer in. Give it a go. See if you can get yourself $20 from the bank account of one Joba Chamberlain. We'll get you an answer after the break. We'll see if we get any correct answers. And we got Dr. Petey, Derek Peterson, formerly of Hail Varsity, now Saturdays Down South. He joins us after the break here on Hail Varsity.
For the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort, energy, performance, and pain relief at the Good Feet store. Visit the store for a free test walk at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point Mall near PetSmart or at goodfeet.com.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
This is your station for local news, talk, sports, and weather. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, Lincoln.
From ABC News.
I'm Daria Albinger. Fire and flooding. One state may soon be dealing with both. Firefighters in New Mexico are battling two massive wildfires that are burning in the same general area.
Flames and thick smoke moved into the town of Rio Doso like a monster arriving. 83-year-old Frank Loya says he knew this time was different and they had to go. He could feel his body's fear response when he saw the wall of flames.
We have been through several fires in the 19 years we've been there. None of them was fierce like this one.
He and his wife don't know if they have a home anymore. They're waiting for news in a Red Cross shelter. Alex Stone, ABC News.
And now add to that a flash flood emergency with strong thunderstorms dropping heavy rain on the region. Tropical storm Alberto, the first named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, bringing gusty wind, heavy rain, and storm surge to South Texas.
We have some mean waves, pretty big, coming in with this storm surge. That's going to be a big thing that they're anticipating really all throughout south coast of Texas. Of course, there's always that storm surge and then the issue for flooding. This, the first named storm of the season. So many people that we've chatted with are surprised how quickly things have deteriorated and how quickly that storm ended up forming.
ABC's Melissa Adun in Corpus Christi. Parts of the Northeast are broiling in a late spring heat wave. Boston's declared a heat emergency, and utility companies are worried about meeting demand.
What drives energy usage up on a hot heat wave like this is people using their air conditioner. And interestingly, on successive hot days, that usage goes up and up and up, generally because people keep turning that air conditioner up a little bit more on each day.
Alec O'Mara of Utility Unitil. Fans are leaving flowers at San Francisco's Oracle Park in memory of the late Willie Mays. Mays died yesterday at the age of 93. The markets were closed for Juneteenth. You're listening to ABC News.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Seeing what happens at the state level with handling local spending. Good afternoon, I'm Jeff Moats. 71 degrees at KFOR. Lincoln Chamber of Commerce President Jason Ball hopes the appropriate way to approach local spending caps comes back up during the upcoming special session of the Nebraska legislature, which Governor Pillen said this week would be July 26th through August 15th. Ball told Lincoln's Morning News on KFOR this week the topic is of interest for local chamber members, especially after the proposed tax-funded Lincoln City budget was released last week and would be an 8% increase in year one of the biennium.
In LB 388 was the bill that stalled out at the end of the session there. They did have spending caps in it at 3.5%. And so the question I think on our minds is if that had been enacted in this budget cycle, would that have taken what was an 8% budget proposal this year and made it 3.5%?
Ball says that the chamber's belief is that it wouldn't have reduced that percentage at all, even with the state spending caps in place. Lancaster County deputies late Monday night arrested a man suspected of crashing his vehicle into a detached garage in West Lincoln and leaving the scene. This happened in the area of Northwest 48th and West Holdridge, according to Chief Deputy Sheriff Ben Houchin. He says a deputy heading to the crash scene noticed a car in the area of Southwest 20th and West O Street with significant front end damage and the airbag deployed. The driver has been identified as 59-year-old Gerald Meeker of Lincoln.
Through the investigation, it was determined that Meeker was responsible for the damage to the garage, and he was highly intoxicated.
Meeker was cited on suspicion of aggravated DUI and leaving the scene of an accident. Meeker was then released to a health and wellness center. 159 years ago today, the end of slavery in the United States happened when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas found out that they had been freed after the end of the Civil War and 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. The occasion is called Juneteenth, and it is a federal holiday. Lincoln's first forecast tonight, still a 60% chance of thunderstorms, low of 63, 50% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow and a high of 87. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool has been put away. Now is the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Keep up with the local news, sports, your favorite talk shows, and pro shows on KFOR wherever you roam. Stream us 24/7 at KFORnow.com or on your mobile. You can download the free iHeart or TuneIn app and stream KFOR on the go.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back in here for hour 2 of Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager. No Chris Schmidt today, as he has a day of leisure on a Wednesday. We're expecting him back tomorrow. Elijah Herbel and Joba Chamberlain up here at Zipline Brewing, just across the street from Charles Schwab at the College World Series, as Tennessee has let 2 slip back. A Florida State home run has pulled them within 4 runs in the 7th inning here in Omaha, as Tennessee plays for a spot in the championship series this weekend. We're joined by Will Wilson in studio, along with Derek Peterson. You find him and follow him on Twitter at Dr.Dr_PD, a longtime fixture on this Hail Varsity show. I believe he's got some Hail Varsity going in the background of his shot as well. He's working now for Saturday Down South. You can hear him on the Saturday Down South podcast and find his work on Saturday Down South as well. Derek, it's good to chat with you, a fellow Tottenham fan. It's been a while since we've had a fellow Tottenham fan on this show. How you been? It's good to see you. And are you following along with any of the College World Series?
Well, if they are Tottenham fans, they're not going to talk about it. So it's not too surprising. I'm going to be honest, this wasn't even planned. My wife and I just bought our first house, moved into it on Saturday, and my office space is a mess right now. So if I'm echoing,
well, clean it up. Let's go. Lock it up.
I got UEFA Euros to watch and the College World Series and a bunch of house projects to do. So
it's quickly. What do you know? Which cover that is in the background? I'm trying to get a good view of it.
I've got 2 of them sitting there. I've got the Stanley Morgan cover that I wrote on Stan, and then I have a Drew Brown cover behind it.
Nice. And Derek, before we shift gears here and talk some football, you mentioned the Euros. That has been my midday routine for, we're almost at a week now as we're into the second true match day. You got a team you're pulling for, anyone you like, or are you just watching for pure enjoyment?
Well, I obviously have to, have a vested interest in England, even though James Madison didn't get put on the team, which I'm a little bitter about, but I understand why he didn't get put on the team. But I always loved the way Spain played when I was growing up. The tiki-taka kind of, Xavi and Iniesta, David Puyol, some of those players were influential on me when I was growing up. And so Spain has always been a team that's been a little bit closer to my heart than it probably should be, considering I have no Spanish in me whatsoever, and I burn the second I walk into the sun. So
who was your favorite player though?
At Spain or like a Spaniard? Yeah. Xavi, absolutely. I think he's one of the greatest midfielders ever. That was the position that I played when I played. So I gravitated toward him. Him and Iniesta, I thought that partnership worked magically.
It's funny here. We're talking soccer. We probably got to change the topic before our longtime listeners start to move away. Tiger he chimes in, didn't know Elijah was British. German and Norwegian by origin. And I struggle because my roommates and I were discussing so do you root for Germany in the Euros because your family's from them. Like, well, my family moved away for a reason, meaning I probably shouldn't root for them. If they were so inclined as to move away from Germany, it probably means I shouldn't root for them. I don't know. It's a whole can of worms. I'm watching for enjoyment. I think I'm partial to the Netherlands, but we'll see. At the end of the day, we hope it's a good tournament. Derek, as we switch gears here, talk some football. The topic we closed last hour, and I sent this story to you as well, was from Bill Bender, the Sporting News, the boom or bust teams in college football. And I want to first lay this out because, I mean, this is part of the discussion we had last hour. How do you define a boom or a bust team in college football? We were trying to take it from the Nebraska angle. Could Nebraska be considered boom or bust? And I think the question becomes, how do you define boom or bust in 2024? What's your take? It's the changing college football, conference realignment, super conferences, if you will, a 12-team college football playoff. It feels like it adds more importance to this season than we've had in a couple years prior. How do you define boom or bust in 2024?
Well, first thing, I was listening to Babbers talk about that, and I liked his response as it relates to Nebraska. Second, let me try to tie the first part to the second part, make this a little seamless. England is super disappointing on an international stage, but they have all the talent to win whatever cup competition they enter. They're very boom or bust. They've got all this talent, but they've got constant questions about what is Gareth Southgate going to do with his lineups? What is he going to do with substitutions, things like that? I think to be a boom or bust team, you have to have like an unknowable. You have to be, and I'm going to start with Miami. That'll be the first team that I start with, which was on Bill's list as well. I think they're a perfect team. You have to have an unknowable, which I was reading the Aaron Sorensen and Brandon Vogel's thing, the counter read, and Brandon's doing a thing on the unknowable for Nebraska, the offensive line, which is a pretty big, pretty big area to have, an element of your team that you're not really sure about. With Miami, I would say that the big unknowable is what are you going to get from Mario Cristobal when games get tight, when you're in one-score games. And Bill has a note in his story that we've been referencing, that Miami was 500 in one-score games under Mario Cristobal so far. Now, when you're building a program, the expectation is that, you're going to lose some of those games, those one-score games early. You're going to learn how to win those games, and you're going to win some of those one-score games a little bit later. That's usually the natural progression of a program. We know that Nebraska means that doesn't happen all the time, but that's the natural progression for a program, or at least a program that is being well managed and well run. Miami this offseason added Cam Ward out of the transfer portal at quarterback, a Washington State guy. I watched a ton of him, obviously with all the Pac-12 stuff that I watched. They added Damian Martinez, a running back from Oregon State. They added Sam Brown, a wide receiver from Houston, to complement Xavier Restrepo really well. They return, I think it's 5 of the 7 offensive linemen that played 100 snaps for them last season. They've got a 5-star offensive lineman from the 23 class that's in there that didn't play last year. And they've got a transfer that they added on that offensive line. So we know Cristobal coaches the offensive line super well. We saw that at Oregon. He should have a better than average unit on the offensive line. I love Cam Ward as a quarterback, especially as a guy entering into a season where he's looking to make himself some money in the NFL draft. He wanted to enter it this offseason and didn't get the feedback that he probably thought that he should have gotten. And so now he's in a little bit of a prove-it year at Miami. Damian Martinez is a phenomenal running back, an every down guy. And then I really like the wide receiver options that Ward has to throw to. When you look at Miami, I think Miami has all of the pieces to potentially even go undefeated. I do some betting stuff
that's
for Saturday.
All there.
It is. I do some betting stuff for Saturday down south, and I said that Miami, just as a value bet to go unbeaten, they're plus 700 at DraftKings when I wrote the piece. They underperformed their expected win total last season by 1.9 games, which is a typical indicator that you're going to improve a little bit the next year. They added stuff. They addressed some issues. So for them, are they a boom or bust team? Absolutely, they're a boom or bust team, because I don't know what Mario Cristobal is going to do in one-score games. We saw him make one of the worst mistakes we've seen a coach make in recent college football history last year that directly lost them a game. He doesn't like to kneel on the football for whatever reason. So is Cristobal and will that coaching staff be able to get them over the finish line? Because I think Miami, I've been harping on Miami all offseason. It's like, their win total is at 9.5. Like, take the over on that. I think they could win 11 games. I think they could win. I just said maybe they're going undefeated. But also it's Miami, so they could go 5-7, right?
I mean, it's aggressive. It's aggressive, but yeah, okay.
And that's kind of the defining point of a boomer or bust team, though. It nails the point directly on the head.
And that's exactly what you said, though.
Yeah. They open against Florida, which is just such a huge game for both of those programs. But really, when you're when you're embarking on a magical season, you need a game at the beginning to really spark you. That is the perfect kind of game for them. Because if you go beat Florida, you don't really play them all that often anymore. You go beat Florida. Now, I know that Florida is not exactly like Urban Meyer Florida, Steve Spurrier Florida, but it's still a name brand program in college football, and that is going to be a massive game in terms of billing and coverage and things like that. You go win that football game, that is a huge springboard for the rest of your season. Florida State has to play at the Hard Rock Stadium. Virginia Tech has to play at the Hard Rock Stadium. I think those are big games. Do they play Clemson? I don't think they play Clemson.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're set up to be a very, very interesting team this fall in terms of how surprising they could be to some people or how disappointing they could be if this doesn't click the way that we think it clicks on paper, which we see it all the time. Stuff that looks good on paper doesn't always look good on the field.
Well, Derek, let's flip it over here. Let's talk some Nebraska. This is a Husker show. Boomer bust. Does Nebraska fit the bill? You talk about the unknowables, the offensive line, the 5-star quarterback in Dylan Raiola, the way the schedule sets up. I think you could make the argument they have that potential scene setter for the season with Colorado as well. I'm not willing to put Nebraska personally in the boomer or bust category, but I think it is an interesting discussion to be had because I think you could make the argument. I think most Husker fans, given what's happened over the past decade or so, don't want Nebraska to be boomer or bust, and I might fall into that same category. To you, what is Nebraska in 2024?
He already shook his head, so we know where this is going to go.
Well, so in my notes for this as boomer bust teams that I could talk about, I have Notre Dame and I have Oklahoma State also in this. And I think Notre Dame is another team that could be really, really good if the pieces fit, which for Notre Dame would mean playoff. But also there's questions about their quarterback's health. So, you could massively disappoint. Oklahoma State, my unknowable is Mike Gundy. I don't need to add anything else to that. For Nebraska, I don't think the ceiling is high enough to put them in the same category as some of these other teams. Like Bill has LSU in Arizona on his list, and the ceiling for those teams are playoff, right? I don't think Nebraska's a playoff team. But I also don't necessarily think Nebraska could bust. I mean, this is early in Matt Rule's tenure, and we're talking about a freshman quarterback. He's a 5-star.
Hasn't thrown a pass yet.
He's still a freshman quarterback. And there's one thing that's always stuck with me. Luke Gifford, I was talking to him just offhand one time, and he told me that the jump from high school to college was harder than the jump from college to the NFL. And it's just always stuck with me. And so whenever we get like these elite quarterbacks, I just temper your expectations a little bit coming in because they're freshmen and they're going to make freshman mistakes. It just comes with the territory whenever you're starting at a major program like Nebraska. We saw Adrian Martinez make freshman mistakes when he started. Like, it's going to happen. A scene setter with Colorado. I was more laughing at Colorado. I'm super excited about the Colorado game because I grew up, around like Nebraska lore, and I grew up around people that cared about Nebraska, Colorado. But Colorado sucks. I don't think too many people are going to care nationally about Nebraska, Colorado. Just to be frank.
Joel Klatt does.
Yeah, well,
our fans will love that. Thank you.
I'm going to take that so out of context. Colorado sucks. Derek Peterson. That's going on Twitter out of context.
Not us.
Yeah.
I don't have to,
but they're going to love it.
I don't have to talk to Dion, so I don't. He doesn't get to yell at me and call me a non-believer, so it doesn't change my day. Go for it.
Derek, before we get you out of here, your reaction. I guess we've seen it a little bit with College World Series, Texas and Oklahoma moving over. I guess we saw them make it more in postseason baseball, but just that move for those teams, boom or bust for either of those as they make the transition into SEC football. And I guess you'd think some momentum would be handy. Texas built some momentum last year, jumping up into the college football playoff. You look at the Oklahoma as well, trying to gain some momentum under Venables. Do either of those two teams fall into the boom or bust category for you?
Texas, probably not, because I think they have a really, really high floor. They're going to be super good. If they're as good as they were last year, they're going to the college football playoff. They're going to be in that conversation. Oklahoma is a great team to put into this conversation because they expect to have a fantastic defense, possibly even a what you would expect of a Brent Venables coached defense. And they have Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman at linebacker.
But does it transfer to the SEC?
I think defensively, yes. I think they could have a top 4 SEC defense. The big difference for them is you go from. I was talking to a colleague about this. You go from the Big 12, the middle part of the Big 12 is not the same as the middle part of the SEC. That's going to be the biggest difference for them. And when you're talking about the quality of your defense, especially in that front seven, it's really a prerequisite to compete in the SEC. It's not so much the same thing in the Big 12. The thing with them, the swing factor for them is Jackson Arnold, right? And I put it this way. You can go to Ames, Iowa on a Thursday night, throw 3 interceptions, and probably still be in a position to maybe steal the football game. You go to Auburn and you throw 3 interceptions, you're not winning that football game. It's just not happening. They got Tennessee at home.
There.
They've got Texas, obviously. They've got Ole Miss. They play Missouri. They play Alabama. They play Alabama at home. And those are some of the teams that we talk about as playoff teams. Oklahoma has a chance to be a little bit of a season wrecker. And if you win enough of those wreck your opponent's season games, suddenly if you're 9-3, with wins over, let's say, Alabama and Missouri or something, you're in the conversation now too. I don't think Oklahoma's winning 9 games. This is what I told my colleague. I think more at an 8-4 season would be good for them. But again, they're starting a young quarterback, and this is the thing. He's going to make mistakes, and their margin for error in the toughest conference in football is not what it was playing in the Big 12, which is a distant third.
Find him, follow him on the app formerly known as Twitter at Dr_PD. Also find his work, Saturday Down South, the podcast, the written work. Derek, appreciate you stopping in with us today. We'll do this again soon, all right?
Great to hear from you guys. Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys.
Where's the perfect place to go for lunch every day? Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Where can you watch all of your favorite college and professional sports all season long? Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Who's got family-friendly entertainment all throughout the week, including trivia, music bingo, and live music every Friday? Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Hurrdat Sports Bar in La Vista is the spot for lunch, date night, corporate events, or even a late-night cocktail. A one-of-a-kind spot for sports fans and more. Behind Cabela's in La Vista. Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Keep your space feeling comfortable this summer with help from Menards. The Denali Air 6,000 BTU window air conditioner has a 3-speed cooling system with remote control, allowing you to control the temperature of your space from anywhere in the room. You call the shots with auto and eco mode to maximize performance and save on energy costs. Stop by in-store or online at Menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
We're going abroad for the first time in years to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool's been put away. Now is the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools...
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Up here at Zipline Brewing, the tap room just across the street from Charles Schwab Field at the College World Series. Tennessee still with that 4-run lead against Florida State, bottom half of the 8th inning. The outs are running out for Florida State. They only got 4 left to work with, so it does appear, I've been saying it all show, the commentator's curse has not been in effect today.
It is not.
Tennessee looks well on their way, and it's something we talked about yesterday, Job, on your show, the Triple Play Podcast, yourself, myself, Chris Schmidt as well, who is out today.
He's on leisure.
A day of leisure.
A
leisurely day.
A day of leisure. He's probably snoozing now.
I think he's
maybe.
I think he's probably back home.
And we're on Hail Varsity Radio, brought to you by Cornhead Loggers. So you guys join us and subscribe and do everything that we do. And we actually have somebody that got the answer right, didn't they, Elijah?
Yes, that would be Brent Matz checking in on the KFOR Facebook page with Jose Molina.
Fantastic. He got it. Well, is he going to put his Cash App so I can send him $20?
Yeah, Brent, drop the Cash App. I guess if it's Venmo, you can do that
What's
as well.
G off? Is that G off?
Jeff and Lincoln?
Yep.
Jeff and Lincoln says,
That's my
Sup,
guy.
Uncle Jabba.
That's my guy.
So we take a look through the StreamYard comments here. We're just joined by Derek Peterson leading off hour 2. We're also joined by Mike Babcock, Husker historian with Hail Varsity back in hour 1. If you missed either of those segments, you can catch those on the Hail Varsity podcast page or Hail Varsity YouTube, the Hail Varsity Radio podcast page. Just search it up, Hail Varsity Radio. You'll find segments as well as the full show every single day. Also, if you're not about the streaming live online, you like the terrestrial radio, that's ESPN 590 here in Omaha. KFOR, that's 1240 AM, 101.5 FM in Lincoln. News Talk 900, or the Superstation, Kearney, Hastings, Grand Island, 1440 out there in central Nebraska. You can join us all of those ways live on the air as well. As we'll be getting to a Jock Doc here in about 10 minutes. If you missed your chance at Jaba's Trivia, I think we're going to have one more of those if there's baseball tomorrow. If not, we'll have another one Monday with the Championship Series, so another chance for you. But Brent,
Championship
you are the winner.
Series is going to be 100.
100 degrees, what you're saying?
No, it's going to be 100.
$100?
Yep.
Well, we'll have to hope for a game on Monday.
Championship Series is going to be 100.
That's
because it's going to be a good one. And
good trivia question.
They're going to have a good battle on this one.
But back to my point here, as it appears Tennessee is well on their way. I almost gave him the commentator's curse yesterday, saying I don't know if anyone can compete with Tennessee in this College World Series with what they've shown, not only all season, but in the regional, in the super regional, here in the College World Series. They've been just a wagon.
Well, you still got to give me
combination.
Brett's.
We're waiting. Brent's got to check in here.
Did he not give us a yet?
Brent, we're waiting on you. I'm not sure if he's still hanging out. If he's not, he may have missed his chance. But Tennessee's a wagon. Was that, Will?
I got to say something. You know, if I am ever in a Copper Alt drinking contest, Jabba, you're my first call.
Oh, I'm in there like swimwear, son.
Yeah. I will be calling you, just so you know.
Cheers to that.
You're a pro.
We thank the good folks at Zipline here for having us, providing us with a couple of Copper Alts for the show. Fantastic beer. I recommend the Pickle Time Lager as well.
Yeah, he likes that one.
The Springtime Lager was
you're
solid.
Copper Alt right now.
I got to try the full game. I love the folks here at Zipline. Copperalt has been a tried and true local beer, so you can come get one fresh out of the tap here at Zipline Brewing. Again, just a hop, skip, and the jump. We're on North 14th Street, just across the street from Charles Schwab Field. Come see us, come grab a pint, come say hello. As we transition back to some Husker football, we await the Florida and Texas A&M game tonight. You can come hang out with some Aggie fans here at Zipline as well. But as we transition back to football, one of the eagerly awaited days every single offseason, Joba, is the day that Phil Steele releases his college football preview magazine. It is on newsstands now. We're going to be getting Phil. We've had him on for as long as I've been around here on Hail Varsity, which we're going into my 6th football season now. As many years as I've been here, we've gotten Phil Steele on once a year. Don't have a date for that, but we will have Phil Steele on with us here on Hail Varsity a little bit later this year. He's released his positional rankings, his team rankings. Nebraska comes in at number 33 in his top 40 in the Phil Steele Preview magazine. Don't want to give too many secrets away as Phil needs to make his money as well. I'm going to go grab myself a copy off newsstands as soon as I can find one. We got Venmo. We'll figure this out, Job, during the next commercial break. We got the address. We'll get that sent to you very quickly.
No, a Cash App.
I can Venmo. You can Cash App me.
Okay, perfect.
Bang. As a proud Venmo user as well, no free shout-outs as a proud Venmo user as well. I understand it.
We make it happen.
But back to my point here. Phil Steele has Nebraska at number 33. And I discussed this probably a month ago on the show as Josh Pate laid out his kind of state of the nation for Husker football. And I loved a quote that he put in there, that the depth chart in November never looks as pretty as it does in Phil Steele's preview magazine. And from the outside looking in, I can see Phil Steele, why from the depth chart as it looks right now is number 33. But the question I have is, as you look at this roster, where can things all go wrong from an injury perspective for this Husker football team? And Joba, with your 10-plus years in the majors, high school baseball, college baseball, I'm sure you've had a season or two where maybe it's just for a month, maybe it's for a full season, where injuries have derailed your progress. Did any seasons come to mind as being that one where you look at it in spring training and you think, man, we're going to be great this year, and then an injury or two derails some things?
I mean, it happens.
It's sports.
Like, you know it's going to happen, and you know what it is. But also at the same time, it's like that's where I love the aspect of the sport, no matter what it is. Because now you got one of your dudes hurt. Somebody steps up and they show out. That's the Wally Pipp effect of Lou Gehrig. Think about that. And that's the point. Nobody knew who Lou Gehrig was.
I mean, nobody.
He was behind Wally Pipp.
Yep. Field football, nobody knew who Tom Brady was whenever he gets his first chance behind Bledsoe.
And he goes and does what he. So I think it's one of those things where I think you're right on the head, where if we're in the direction, we're 33, right? Who knows what we're going to do? Somebody might get hurt. Somebody steps up. Somebody does something where it makes us great. Because even though you're that dude, sometimes stuff happens. And you got to have somebody come in and step up for you. And that's the reason you have these guys in certain programs, and that's why they're there. And I think that's so important, because even these mid-level players that weren't recruited in like the entire aspect, but now you have them where they're able to play in a dynamic where it's like
the next man up mentality.
I have to step up.
Yep.
I got to. And what does that do? That puts you into a perspective of like, oh, this is a dude. He stepped up. He wasn't that guy. He wasn't this. And boom. We have those ones. We have, like, and as we talked about on this show, in the College World Series, we have the Cags of the worlds. We have the Charlie Condones. We have those guys, right? But there is some other dudes that have stepped up and balled out where they have earned that. Like now they have literally earned, be like, at the highest stage, I can ball out.
Let me look at Braden Montgomery for Texas A&M. One of the best players in the country. He goes down. What does Texas A&M do? They're still undefeated in the College World Series.
100%.
Yeah, the mentality. But also, as Steven says, I am hating on Nebraska. I will take it. I call it realism, your dose of realism during Kool-Aid season. And this is Kool-Aid season. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
It's Kool-Aid season. But I want
a little bit.
I want a little bit of the dose of realism because the wheels can fall off. And that might be a little bit dramatic to say here with a couple of injuries. But there are a couple spots on this team where, hey, you're not Alabama. You're not Clemson. You're not Georgia, where it is just talent upon talent. Let's add Michigan to it. Michigan had a couple injuries on the offensive line last season, and they did not skip a beat because they have that pipeline ready to go behind their starters. That farm system, if you will, if you want to compare it to baseball, where you have the sophomores or the juniors in the program. They're just waiting for that opportunity. It's year 2 of a build for Nebraska.
Right.
So I want to lay it like, God forbid, I've said this a couple times before, if Dylan Raiola goes down for Nebraska, how does that change the prospects of Nebraska's season?
I don't think it changes it much, just because I will be a pessimist at this point, and people can argue with me this and listen on the show and whatever, but he hasn't thrown a damn pass yet. So what does that even mean? Like, we haven't seen what he's done. So if he goes down, we saw the spring game. The spring game was, he did what he did, right?
Fantastic performance, yeah.
But now let's go out and ball out. And that's all you can do. Injuries happen, and that is just sports. That is what it is. But at the same time, you have to understand sometimes that don't work. Sometimes that don't work. And he hasn't thrown a dang pass in this Power 5 conference in the people we're going to play. So what if he goes out and he stinks? I'm not saying I want him to stink, because I want to be proud of everything that is Nebraska, always, in 100%. And I am glad we got him. But we also have to prove that we can win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the most important thing. And those guys on the backside, don't ever rest on your laurels, because you might have to step in and be that dude. Because I wasn't that dude. I was not.
But my question with this conversation is does Nebraska have guys waiting in the wings that are ready to be that dude?
I think so.
If Bly Hill is unable to go this season, he had the injury in spring. If he's unable to go, how do you feel about a guy in Jeremiah Charles? I mean, you lose Ethan Nation, who probably wasn't in the top 2 in the depth chart when spring ended, but he was a guy who got a lot of snaps last season. You look along the offensive line. Is a guy in Sam Sledge ready to go? Is a guy in Grant Bricks ready to go? There are questions that I have on this team in terms of, guys can step up, but if you're talking about the type of season that Husker fans want, finishing the season top 35.
That was boomer bust, and exactly what we talked about, though.
Will, am I off base here, Will?
Give us something.
We got 28 seconds left, but Elijah, I see what you're saying, but I'm also with Joba. I mean,
so I'm a hater. Okay.
Well, no, it's just we'll continue this later.
Yeah, we got a Jock Doc coming your way as Dr. Brandon Seifert, Nebraska Orthopedic Center, joins us after the break. We'll get into Gerrit Cole. He's coming back from a spring training elbow injury, his first start of the season tonight against Cade Povich and the Orioles. We'll get into his return after the break here on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager.
Have you been wanting to find the secret to losing weight and getting healthy the natural way without drugs or injections? Hi, this is Dr. K with Lincoln Weight Loss, and we know the secret to losing a half a pound to a pound of fat every day, naturally, safely, and effectively, without counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged meals, no hormones, no injections, no drugs or surgery. Go to LincolnWeightLoss.com to schedule your free consultation.
Hey, it's Schmitty here. This heat has me craving summer fun. Poolside afternoons, weekends on the course, and evening patio parties. I can do all of these activities and enjoy them just a bit more now that I've shed my unwanted pounds with the help of Lincoln Weight Loss. Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. For your free consultation, call 402-520-8170 or go Go to LincolnWeightLoss.com. Their staff will walk you through the entire program. Talk about your health goals and see if it's a good fit for you.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit NoTimeToWait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024, Bank of America, N.A.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating, and of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list, seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Leaky faucet? Call Action. Frustrated with a clogged or backed up drain? Call Action. Allergies acting up? Call Action. Their indoor air quality experts can help. Need an electrician? I'm telling you.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Rolling through a Wednesday here on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager, Elijah Herbel, Joba Chamberlain, and Will Wilson, coming at you from Zipline Brewing just across the street from the Chuck here at the College World Series, determining which teams are going to be playing in the championship weekend. We've already heard from both Mike Babcock and Derek Peterson here today, and now we take it to a Jock Doc as Dr. Brandon Seifert, Nebraska Orthopedic Center, joins us here. And Dr. Brandon, how are we doing on a Wednesday? You enjoying the College World Series, and you enjoying what I would call maybe a spring-like day here in Nebraska?
Absolutely, buddy. Really enjoyed the series. Kind of ready for the weather, though, to move on.
We'll see about that as we turn our attention to Gerrit Cole, Yankees star, making his return tonight against the Orioles. A fun storyline there as Gerrit Cole matches up with former Husker Cade Povich, but also a fun storyline because it's the season debut for Gerrit Cole. He has been on the injured list for most of this season. He's been getting back at the minor league level. This is following some elbow inflammation. They shut him down back in March, now making his debut at Yankee Stadium. Dr. Brandon, take me through the recovery process here. Whenever you hear that elbow injury, a lot of times now in the majors, you go for the worst and you think about that UCL. It wasn't a UCL for Gerrit Cole, but it's still been significant enough to hold him out for just over 3 months of the season now as he makes his return.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should think about that the elbow, especially on that inside part of we call it the medial elbow, but it's basically on that inside portion. There's kind of a bony prominence, if you will, on that inside part of your elbow called the medial condyle. And that's really where all this kind of pathology centers upon. So if you kind of look at this area and you think about, what's the diagnostic pathway here? What are the injuries you look for in this area? Obviously, the most common is the Tommy John we've talked about. Not the most common injury here, but probably one of the most common things we hear about, at least things that have resulted in surgery for players. But also in this area, where a lot of this pathology starts is basically where this, we call kind of the flexor pronator muscle group attaches onto this inside part of the elbow. That attached right over that bony prominence. Behind that bony prominence, some people call that the funny bone, if you will. It's called the medial condyle. There's a nerve that runs behind there called your ulnar nerve. Then, of course, also that Tommy John ligament attached to that area as well. So you kind of have three big structures there that all experience a significant amount of force and stress as pitchers basically throw. Again, I always think about that picture where that pitcher's kind of in that fully kind of cocked position with that ball all the way up at the top and just starting to bring that elbow and that arm forward, kind of at that point of kind of maximal kind of stress to the area. So all three of those things, the nerve, the Tommy John ligament, that flexor prender, all three of those are sustaining a lot of force at that time. And so you take a guy like Garrett Cole, and what he's experiencing here is more kind of on the nerve and the backside. And again, same story. As you put that elbow in that position, the nerve gets stretched. You start to get inflammation, swelling, edema, all that's kind of in the same pathway, and that starts to irritate the nerve. There's even some pathology here where over time with that kind of chronic repetitive stress or stretching on that nerve actually can start to break free of its kind of suspensory or supports and start to slide up over the top of that bony prominence, and that's called ulnar nerve subluxation. And so in his scenario, it sounds like he's not experiencing the nerve instability, but more just the chronic inflammation to the area. And that's kind of the anatomy of this area.
It's Dr. Brandon Seifert with us here, a Jock Doc Wednesday on Hail Varsity Radio, talking Gerrit Cole. He makes his return tonight against the Orioles, matching up with former Husker Cade Povich. And Dr. Brandon, when you discuss the 3 months that Gerrit Cole spent on the shelf, what is actually going on in this rehab process whenever you're looking at this elbow inflammation? Is it simply rest and relaxation? Are there any treatments that are being done to Cole during that time to try to stem the inflammation and get him back sooner? What do you think this recovery process looked like for him?
You know, first and foremost, rest is initially the key. And so he's going to have a good, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks of, no throwing at that point, sometimes a little longer. But that's kind of the key take-home part of this, at least the rest piece of it, is to allow that nerve an opportunity to relax. Then there's also going to be the anti-inflammatory component on top of it, whether it's an oral anti-inflammatory or some type of, topical anti-inflammatory here. And then you start to get into some modalities, physical therapy, a little bit of some stretching. They might do some soft tissue mobilization. So those things are important. And then the last part of this always comes, is there any value to like injections to the area? Not a great area for injections, especially with this pathology, so probably not something to utilize. There's some experimental studies out there about maybe using kind of the stem cell PRP cocktail we've talked about, but still a little bit more on the experimental side before you'd really want to choose to do that. And so for him, I'm sure there's a component of rest, you got the anti-inflammatories, and then some stretching, and then kind of that gradual work back into some throwing, and making sure that you take kind of slow, graduated steps until he brings it back up to full speed and kind of volume on the mound.
Dr. Brandon, how long till you think Gerrit Cole will be a full go back on the mound? He pitched just over 70 in AAA last week, makes the start tonight. What type of ramping up process do you expect from him? Is it going to be a couple weeks, a couple of months? What is the timetable until you think we see Gerrit Cole at 100%?
Yeah, I think a smart pathway on this one would be kind of a 3 to 4 week kind of transition back. You can obviously do that a variety of ways, whether it's just innings or volumes of pitch or number of pitches. But I think a 3 to 4 week return to get him back to kind of complete game level, even though a lot of our pitchers these days aren't doing that, is kind of the way to go.
And in terms of re-injury here over the next couple of weeks, what are the risk factors they're going to be looking for whenever they're checking him after the starts? What are the type of things that would be a concern for the rest of Gerrit Cole's 2024 season? What are some things those doctors are going to be looking for?
Yeah, this area is really common to kind of have a flare-up of those symptoms again. And so you worry about, one, the nerve getting irritated again. But more important than that, it'd be more kind of that flexor pronator area where that muscle group comes on and attaches. That tends to be more pesky than the nerve. Once you kind of get the nerve to calm down, it's rare for that to kind of really flare back up once you get it to calm down. I worry more about kind of the flexor pronator being more the nagging issue. The big thing, really, is just to make sure that those nerve symptoms do get better. If they're trying to push him back and you still got a little bit of that nerve inflammation going on, that can be really problematic and can be something that can be significant kind of long term. So that is the one time you have to be pretty careful with these, is when the nerve gets involved.
It's Dr. Brandon Seifert with us here, a Jock Doc Wednesday on Hail Varsity Radio, talking Yankees star Gerrit Cole. He makes his return tonight. And Dr. Brandon, last thought here, with as much as we've talked about Tommy John and the UCL with pitchers, is that a concern at all as you're bringing Gerrit Cole back? I know it hasn't been a UCL issue, but sometimes you have those things where one injury leads to another. And with the elbow as a whole, I don't claim to understand it, but that's kind of the first place my mind goes. Do you worry about a potential UCL injury as he makes his return, or is that something that is a little bit more safe in this type of injury?
Yeah, with all this, a great question, Elijah. With all of those structures in that same area, and again, you start to ask the questions as to, why did he end up in a scenario where that nerve started to have inflammation? I do start to worry about, does he have some laxity or looseness in that area already? So does that, even though Tommy John is not torn enough to where he would need surgery to it, at least that's what they're telling us. Does he have some kind of chronic instability of that ligament, and that puts extra stress on the nerve? Because it's pretty uncommon to have significant inflammation of that nerve without
Dr. Brandon Seifert with us here.
Making sure your biomechanics are improved enough that you're not going to have that extra stress on that ligament.
It's Dr. Brandon Seifert with us here, a Jock Doc Wednesday on Hail Varsity Radio as we talk Gerrit Cole, his return for the Yankees. Dr. Brandon, appreciate the insight today. Have yourself a lovely rest of the week, and we'll chat next Wednesday, all right?
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Rolling through a Wednesday here on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager, Elijah Herbel, Joba Chamberlain, and Will.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Do you get a lonely feeling as you wander around searching for help at some businesses in big, boxy buildings? Hello? Hello? Is anybody out there?
You got your very own handyman to help remodel your home.
You'll always find someone helpful at Handyman Home Remodeling Center.
You'll never feel lost, confused, or ignored.
You'll always be greeted by one of our handy experts.
We're here to answer your questions, provide advice, and stretch your budget.
During June, kitchen sinks and bathtubs are on sale.
It's amazing how updating your bathroom or kitchen can brighten the start to your day.
If you're in search of the latest trends in bathtubs, showers, vanities, sinks, faucets, lighting fixtures, and more,
stop wandering the big boxy wilderness. Come to where you're welcome at Handyman.
Let Google Maps direct you to Handyman for the very best in bathrooms.
Under the arch on Sun Valley Boulevard, Lincoln.
Handyman. The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool's been put away. Now's the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Imagine having all the money you need for retirement, all the income, every month, guaranteed. That's Secure Future Investor, an indexed annuity tied to growth in the stock market, but without any risk of loss ever. It's guaranteed money for life income.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here on a Wednesday, Zipline Brewing outside College World Series. Tennessee advances to the championship series. Rocky Top is through to the weekend. We await the start of Florida and Kentucky as that game getting going here somewhere around an hour from now. We don't have an official start time as we got kids jumping in the background of the
Come
stream.
in, boys.
Fargo Youth Baseball. They're here from a long ways away. How are we doing, gentlemen? How are we doing?
Come in, boys.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Look at this.
Yeah, come in. This is what we got.
We got former MLBer Joba Chamberlain here, Elijah Herbel, a big-time nobody. They're here from Fargo. Who are you guys rooting for? A&M. A&M. LSU, you can stay. You guys can all go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
As people of all kinds, youth to adults, I do believe minors unaccompanied, not allowed into Zipline Brewing. You guys accompanied by a coach or a parent? Thank God. Okay, I was going to have to pick you guys out myself.
Obviously.
As, again.
What position do you play?
Oh, you got a catcher, outfield, third base. So no pitchers? You all pitch. Okay.
Well, they do at that age.
Yeah,
Elijah,
I know.
that.
Who's got the best fastball here?
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, take pride
Good
in that,
fastball.
baby.
How's the You're the friend. You probably can't fool me, is all I'm saying.
Hey, here you go, buddy.
Umpiring this weekend, not in Omaha. I'll be down in Lincoln.
That's my World Series
in Omaha, I
ring
assume? Yeah, I wasn't going to give you any strikes anyway.
I was drafted in the first round by the Yankees.
Joba's showing off the bling here to the kids. He's touching that thing gently.
2006. We won in 2009. It's right here. It's right here.
No,
I
you got
was
drafted
in 2006. That's 2009 right there. Do you know Joba Chamberlain? Do you know Joba Chamberlain?
They're too young for that, I think. Yeah. Where are you guys born? Oh, my God, I'm old. I am so old. Well, let it be known, people of all sizes, ages, welcome here at Zipline Brewing outside the College World Series. It's a family experience. As the kids from Fargo Youth Baseball up here in England baseball, that is good stuff. They're pulling for A&M tonight. Job, any thoughts on the A&M Florida? If Florida pulls it out, we get another game tomorrow. If A&M wins, baseball Thursday, baseball Friday, it's on to the championship series.
I want them to win so we get more baseball.
I
want them to win so we get an opportunity to watch more great baseball.
I want more packs too.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's true. Yeah. But I think it's fantastic.
Nice to meet you, gentlemen. Nice to meet you.
You guys.
That's James Unbelievable. Varsity Radio, give it a follow.
See you guys. Thank you. I want to see more baseball.
Well, that whole segment translate all these things up and crashing the party.
I just gotta be honest. Like in those last 2 minutes, you guys are cutting out bad. So it's good that we're about to end the show.
Oh, are we now? I blame the kids. We had, if you guys missed it, a group of kids from Fargo Youth Baseball come up and hang out, say, they're taking pictures down there, hanging out Zipline. I see a Coca-Cola in one hand. We're glad it's not yours. Any better now? Can you still hear us, Will?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's not great.
Yeah. Okay, well, that seems like a good time to end the show. We'll be back tomorrow from 4 to 6, whether that's in Lincoln or in Omaha. We will let you know on Twitter later. For Joba Chamberlain, Will Wilson, Elijah Herbel, signing off. Pick us out podcast form, check us out on YouTube. At 4, Varsity Radio, powered by Logger.
Love you guys.